All right, hello once again, everyone, and welcome back to the Summit Podcast. I've got a comebacker on here today, around a second time guest. This guy's a big deal. When you make it on the Summit Podcast twice, you know you've really made it in life. So we've got Steve Rozenberg back with us, mostly for the purpose of talking about our upcoming event. But we did a little Facebook Live today, and I lost my audio, so I said, "Hey, let's jump on. Let's do this right."
Round 2, 2.0.
Yeah, I was doing sign language and getting a different phone involved, and you got a couple of 50 some odd year old guys trying to do technology, and it was entertaining. So but we had fun with it. We got it out there, and but I thought we'd sit down and just kind of go over things and talk about events and what it's like to go to an event, why you should go to an event, what you can expect to get out of the Edge live event that we are having on February 22nd here in Portland, Maine. Steve is one of our speakers. We've also got Gary Chupik coming up from Elite Mindset and myself. So the three of us will be hitting you guys a couple of times during the day on the front and back side of lunch. So it's going to be a great day. And Steve, welcome to the Summit Podcast. And I can't wait to welcome you to Maine.
Yeah, man, it's great to see you again today. But yeah, listen, I really appreciate you having me. It means a lot that, you've trusted me enough to come up and speak to your group, your audience, your people. And listen, man, I think that we can always be better versions of ourselves. And this is no different. I will tell you when I first got into this world of being an entrepreneur, it came out of the loss of being an airline pilot and getting furloughed after 9/11, and trying to figure out what I was going to do. And one of the things I remember is trying to figure out these educational events and seeing these successful people. And I always had this self-doubt in myself of thinking like, man, like, am I really a business owner? Am I good enough to stand in front of someone and sell them a product and make money and do all these things and buy real estate, own a company? And I just had so much doubt in myself of my ability to do this, to do something. And then one day I remember, and maybe you've had this or people watching this, I kind of thought to myself, wait a second, like I deserve this as much as anybody else. They're not smarter than me. They don't work harder than me. They don't do anything different than me. Why do they get it and I don't? Why I would look at these people with these lives, these amazing lives, and I'm like, and these aren't the bullshit people that you see now on social media. These were real people that were making a lot of money, owning businesses that were just running without them. And I'm like, why do they deserve that and I don't? And that was the flip in my mind. We'll call it we'll say scared Steve to successful Steve. And I finally had this switch in my head that I'm like, you know what? F this. I'm going to do it because I deserve it as much as they do. They're not better. They're not smarter. I'm going to do it. And you know what I did? It was a single decision. I made a decision to say, I'm done letting people talk me out of why I shouldn't do this, why I shouldn't go to events, why I shouldn't listen to people. I'm like, you know what? I'm done listening to these other people. I'm going to do it because I deserve this. That's all that. And it was, and literally, I kid you not, Bob, it was one decision. And I've just learned that a lot of these people out here, we pontificate on, well, this or that. It's like, well, dude, it's one fucking decision. Just make the decision. That's it. And we have it like we go through these ideas, and I don't know if anyone has ever had this or I'm the only one that's had these things. And, it's like Nike, just do it, right? I'm like, hey, focus and finish, get it done. Like just finish, be intentional with who you are. And I think these events like that you're putting on, which is awesome, it gives people an opportunity to make that decision. To say,
Right.
you know what? I'm done listening to everyone else. I'm going to do it because I deserve it. I deserve to have that life. And if you don't do it, my question is, there's a cost of inaction, right? And sometimes we pay for it with the most valuable thing we have, which is our time, the time of our lives that we're missing out with our family, with our loved ones, because we chose not to take action. So I tell people, there's a cost to go, right? There's a cost for your event.
Yeah.
And if you think that's expensive, wait till you get the bill for failing. That's much more expensive than success. So you're going to pay either way. The question is how big do you want the bill to be? That's just my personal 2 cents. I'll stop. I'm off my soapbox now. I'll stop.
I love it. I just put quarters in. He keeps going, guys. I got
That's
more
all
where
right.
that. No, I had kind of a similar moment where, I was trying to get better at things, and it never occurred to me, that you could go to these things. And I would, if I ever wanted to get better at something, and whether it was guitar, I'd get a coach, get a teacher, whether I want to do better with nutrition, go see somebody, want to learn a new thing, I would go put someone in my life. It never occurred to me I could get some business coaching, get some life coaching. And I went out to Denver to the event that a couple of years before you spoke at the event in Denver with the contractor fight. And I didn't know a soul. And I said, I'm just going to go. I got to go, got on a plane, went to Denver, something's got to give, got to get better at things. Right. And I showed up and I came out of there with 300 new friends and a whole bunch of new contacts. And it was not so much even the content at the event. It was the conversations in the hallway, the dinners after, the nights out, and to me,
it's the relationships. It's the relationships that are built. Yeah, they call it. I forget what it's called. It's like basically the conferences at the barvention. They call it barvention because that's when the conversation. Like I tell you what, same. I mean, I've made more friends at lunchtime, drinking whiskey, smoking cigars, just having. And that's what people don't understand. It's not just the education. It's the relationships. It's the journey along the way of what you're going to do, who you're going to meet, and it's who you're going to become. Because here's the thing: if information alone did it, you could just read a book, right? I mean, like if you read a book on golfing, do you think you're going to be a scratch golfer? No, because you've got to implement. Go to the golf course, go to the range, and swing the balls. If I read a book on flying an airplane, if I was like, hey, Bob, I just read this book on flying a plane last night, let's give it a shot. Right. You'd be like, dude, I'm not going up with you. Like, you've never even had an instruction. I'm like, no, I don't need it, man. I read a book. So why is it that we think that if we could read a book on being a business person, that's going to make us successful? Like, it's a disconnect. And so what people think is like, oh, that's like the one thing they don't want to invest in is themselves. And I'm like, you realize that if you already knew how to do it, wouldn't you already be there? But you don't. That's why you're not there. And when you go to these events, listen, whether it's your event, my event, any event, what you're doing is you're buying time. You're speeding up the process. Listen, between you, me, and Gary, there's probably 30, 40 years of education of fuck-ups and mistakes and shit that we've done wrong. And go, listen, you're going to pay either way. You're either going to pay in time and mistakes, or you're going to pay $2.99, come to Bob's event, and you're going to learn all the mistakes that we've made. What's the question? Like and again, I'm simplifying it, but that's the reality of like, I wish these would have, when I was growing up, I'll say in the entrepreneur space, these things didn't exist. There was one a year. There wasn't that many. You read books, then you went to their seminars and you did these things. They didn't exist the way they exist now.
Right. Yeah. I remember 2 years ago, it was the first time I'd met you, and the event was over. I think it was the last night. And I was standing there out at it was a cocktail hour, and I kept turning around, and you were sitting at a table having a whiskey or smoking a cigar, and there was 8 or 9 guys around, and you guys were just shooting the shit. And I just watched the hours click by. And that was one of the things that I now since then we've gotten connected, and I understand why, because we both pour into people unconditionally and without looking for something in return all the time. And I think people need to know that about you as they consider coming to this event. It's not just Steve gets up on stage, heads out the door, gets on a plane, and heads out. He's going to be around. He's going to be around during the breaks. If you guys want to pick his brain, say, hey, what do you think about this? You get a few minutes with him. We'll get together on Friday night if people are in town and hang out a little bit. So the things that go on outside and around the event are of high value, right, Steve?
100%, because the reality is like I said, it's the relationships, it's the conversations that we're doing, it's all of that. Like, listen, I have spoken in front of very large crowds. I think the biggest crowd I spoke in front of was 10,000 people, right? So listen, I'm not better than anybody. I just happen to have a message that people want to hear, and they pay me a lot of money. I travel the world, I speak. But you know what I enjoy more is these kinds of events. The events that we can break bread, shake someone's hands, have conversations with, and they go, wow, I actually had a meaningful conversation. Now, listen, I get it. There are other people out there that speak that do not do what I do. They don't make themselves available. And maybe they have their own reasons. I'm not judging anyone for who they are or what they do. I'm not that person. And maybe that's why you and I have created a great relationship and a friendship, because we like having these conversations and we believe in giving back. I think that more people need to be selfless than being selfish. And I say that because think about this. As a business owner, right? You read a book, you go to an event. You're doing this to have a better life for your family, but you don't share any of the information with the people that you love that you're doing it for. So that's a problem. I think that's a huge problem. I think that's us being selfish, and let's just take it a step further. If you don't go and do something to create a better life for you and a better life for your family, and you were doing it the way you've always done it, do you think that's going to work, or are you being selfish again? Right? And so I think being selfish, it goes both ways. I think one thing that people have to remember is, listen, it's 2025. There has been a new election, which means there is going to be a new political landscape. Based on that political landscape, there is going to be a new economy. Based on that new economy, there's going to be a new way of operating and a new era, which means you have to have a new mindset. So if you are running the same mindset and the same tactics that worked in the old economy, do you think you're going to be successful moving forward? It's like driving your car looking through your rear view mirror. Eventually, you are going to crash. It's just a matter of time. And the
Right.
question is how many people are you going to take out in the crash? And that's the way I say it. Maybe you think I'm wrong. Maybe you think, Steve, I'm going to be successful any way I do it. You're fucking full of shit. Okay, that's fine. Maybe I am. I'm just telling you what I know. I've been doing this for a long time. I've been doing this since 2001. I have made a lot of freaking mistakes. I have probably lost more money in mistakes than a lot of people have made. And that's okay. I'm okay with that. Because those mistakes, I've learned the most from. Some of them almost put me out of business. Someone almost made me bankrupt. But I've learned that there's a way to accelerate that. And the way that you accelerate that is you be around like-minded people that are where you want to go in life. Like I was saying earlier, there is a recipe to be successful, and there is a recipe to fail. Why wouldn't you take the recipe that's successful, that's proven, and say, well, shit, if I can shave 20 years of mistakes by listening to these three guys, why in the hell would I not do it? That's just me, because I'm on the other side and, I've done it, and I'm smart enough to know that I'm not that smart. I listen to smart people like you, Gary. I'm just a big believer in that.
Yeah. Sure. Putting yourself in the right rooms, right? What would you say if someone was watching this, they've never been to an event before, and they're sitting there going, I don't know if this is for me. I don't know if, just like you said, maybe got a limiting belief, maybe just need that nudge. If you were sitting right beside that person, what would you say?
That's a good question. I got to think about that for a second. I think I would say that, would your life be better or worse if you go? And really think about that. Like, if you go, is it going to make your life worse? I think we can pretty much say maybe you'll stay the same, but it's not going to get worse by going. Now let's flip flop it. If you don't go, is it going to get better or is it going to get worse? I would say if you don't go, I can't say it's going to get worse, but I can guarantee you it's not going to get better, right? I mean, what you're going to learn from all three of us.
Yeah.
So I would look at it as, where's my life going to be what is the cost of inaction? Because like I said, there's a cost, and it doesn't matter. You may say, well, like, Bob, I don't own a business. The business of you is a business. You are a business because, as you know, I don't just talk about numbers and data. I talk about, you know, who do you need to become to be that business owner? How do you grow whatever it is you're doing and explode it 10 or 20x just by thinking differently, taking different action, and taking the recipe that I have, the roadmap that I'm going to give everyone who shows up and say, listen, you have to have the roadmap. It's kind of like if I was driving from Houston, Texas to Portland, Maine, I would probably need a map, right? Google Maps, Waze, AAA, Trip Kit. I would need something. I'm not just going to get in my car and just start driving north and go, fuck, I think I'll see Bob at some point if I just keep going north. At some point, I'm going to need to ask directions. I'm going to need to, and if I pull over and ask directions, what am I going to say? Hey, I need directions. And you're going to say, where are you going? And I'm going to say, I don't know. I'm just heading north. And they're going to say, well, then I can't help you because I need to know where you're going to give you advice. And so I don't care what you're doing in life or where you're at, whether you're just starting out or you're a seasoned person, we all need directions. And if you already knew how to get there, you'd already be there. So you're not there yet. So you listen to our advice and say, listen, could it be wrong? It could be wrong. That's for you to decide when you come to the event. Yeah, that was good. Not so good. That was good information. You pick that apart and say, okay, I'm going to take this, this, and this from the information. But you decide that after you attend. You don't decide it before.
Yeah, that's good stuff. We're getting a little bit of lag in the video. I'm sure the podcast software will straighten it out. But I'll ask you this. I lost my train of thought there for a second. Who is this event for? I could tell them, but I'd like them to hear it from you. I've had people say, "Well, Bob, you're a contractor. It must just be a contractor event." Not true. Who can benefit from coming to this event?
Listen, I coach all businesses, all entrepreneurs. I don't care what you label. You are a business owner, and we are teaching the fundamentals of business. So it is for anybody who either has a business or wants to start a business, because a business is made up of 5 parts. You have marketing, which makes your phone ring. Sales answers that phone, and they turn them into clients. Operations processes the orders. Accounting pays everyone, and leadership sits over the top. Isn't that all businesses? I don't care if you're United Airlines, Delta, Chevrolet, Bob Summit, Steve Rozenberg, you are all these businesses. So the question is who is it not for? No one I can think of. If you fall into any of these categories, you should be there because this is relevant for everybody.
Yeah, 100%. You're going to have guys. Gary Chupik's coming from Elite Mindset. He's got a program called Game Plan for Life. Steve has done it. If you guys don't know, Steve had the fastest growing real estate company in Texas and sold out of that and jumped into helping contractors, coaching people, helping all kinds of business owners. He now has a 2-day takeoff summit that he runs in Houston on a monthly basis and has a flourishing coaching company, all while still flying the big birds. Steve, how do you do it all? Really? I mean, I'm looking at what I've got going over here, juggling. I'm like, Jesus, Rozenberg's flying to Thailand today, and I'm over here doing my thing. How do you juggle it all?
You know, it's really a matter of priority. Listen, when people tell me they can't do something, and this is just my opinion, my answer is just say it's not important to you. Like if someone says like, Steve, like, I don't have time to work out. I'm like, no, you have time. Just tell me it's not a priority and it's not important to you. So I'm a big believer that whatever's in front of me at that moment, that is my priority. If it means that I've got to get up at 2 a.m. to go to the gym because I have a 7 a.m. departure, I get up at 2 a.m. and I go to the gym because the gym is a bigger priority than sleep, right? For me, at least. I'm just saying me. So I've just learned to prioritize what's in front of me in that moment and say, this is a priority. This is important to me. So I live, you know, listen, we live second to second. That's how we live. So many people, they plan shit out. Those things done that they plan out. It's like, dude, just live in this second. We get 86,400 of them every day. And you don't get to carry any of them over to tomorrow. So live in the second. It's like living in the moment. Live in the second. embrace the journey. Like people are like, man, Steve, like, I don't know how you fly here. I don't know how you do this. I'm like, I don't know how you don't. It's just a decision. You're just one decision away from doing it.
Yeah.
And so that's just, again, maybe I'm fucking weird. Maybe I'm just that odd man out. I'm sure I am. But when you really think about it, it's a single decision. Am I going to get up at 4 a.m.? Well, I don't really have a choice because I've got to do some things. I've got to do my morning rituals. I've got to be at the gym by 5, which means it's a simple priority. If I say I can't do it, what I should say, it's just not important to me. And that's what I would accept more than someone saying I can't do it.
Yeah. Total. I love it. Hey, whoops, we're getting a little bit of lag there. Okay, I got you.
Yeah,
Hey,
I'm sorry about that.
that's okay. I think that the software will straighten it out, but hopefully, guys, this will be smoother when we're just seeing some lag. Well, one of the questions I had teed up for you was this: if you could say in one sentence why someone should come to the Edge Live event on February 22nd in Portland, Maine, what would you say? One sentence, why they should come.
Oh, man, you're giving me some good ones. I would say because you're swimming in a pool of successful people and you're going to change your environment. And when you change your environment, you're going to change your results. That's very simple. Like I said, it's simple. Like you're going to be around people who care about you. Like, listen, I meet people all the time and they're like, man, Steve, I feel like you've known me all the time. I'm like, I've known people. I've known you. I don't know you specifically, but I know who you are and I know what you need. And sometimes it's just a matter of people giving a shit and caring and saying, listen, I care about you because I know you. I know your struggles. I know what you're going through because I've gone through it. And I'm tired of people giving me excuses and letting these other people be successful when we deserve it just as much. We deserve success as much as anyone else. And until you make that one decision and say, you know what, I'm going to do it anyways, you're never going to get
Yeah.
there. So
Yeah.
make the decision.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're still getting some lag, but I was going to ask you, I didn't prep you for any questions because you don't need that. But I wanted to ask you, is there a moment at an event that you've gone to, not spoken at, as an attendee? Is there a moment or a memory that was very impactful for you that you could share with everybody? Just to give someone an example of like, it doesn't happen if you don't go.
Man, you're hitting me some good ones, brother. Listen, I have gone to many events, and I'm not trying to brag or boast, or you may say I'm a moron for doing it, but I have probably invested close to $1 million in myself over the last 20 years, well into six figures, high sixes, if not a million. And gosh, I was at a training event that I realized that I thought of things the way employees think of things. I was concerned as to what I was going to pay and what I was going to get out of it. And I was so concerned, was the price I was paying going to be the information that I get? Like, oh, it's only a 10-hour event and I paid $500. Man, that's so much per hour. Is that worth it? And what I learned, what my mentor taught me, he said, Steve, it's not the time spent, it's the results that you get. And this guy was a very, very successful person, multi-millionaire. And he said, Steve, if I could teach you something of how to make $1 million in 12 minutes, do we need to spend 10 hours together? He said, you're so focused on squeaking as much out of something when you should be focused on the results. And he said, if that's how you think, that's an employee mentality because that's what we're taught in school. You get paid so much per hour, you do so much work. And I really thought about that. And that was to me was a big eye opener to realize like, wow, he's right. Like that is how I think. And so that was just something that really stuck out at me to say like, wow, like I need to focus on the results. And listen, in all transparency, when you and I talked, the one question I asked you was, what's the results you want people to get when they leave there? And you had a great answer. And that's sometimes when I ask people, when they ask me to speak at an event, if they don't really have a good enough answer, I may say, I'm not going to come because I want to give people results. If they just want to sell them a product, I'm like, I'm not down for that. I want to be there to make a difference in their lives. And if we don't have the same mindset and the same ideology, that's cool. But that's not something I want to be a part of.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's great. I appreciate you being willing to do it. I'm excited about it. One last thing. Probably somebody that will watch this that'll say, I'm going to wait a couple of weeks. I'll see how it goes. I'll see how many people are going. I'll see who I hear who's going. And they're going to sit on the fence like they might be right now watching this, like tapping their finger. Well, maybe I could. Yeah, I don't know. What would you say to the person that's just kind of undecided, doesn't know if it's for them, and you were sitting beside them? What would you say to them?
I'm either tired or you're just hitting me with some good questions. I would say if you know it's right for you, then you should do it, because success loves speed. And what you should be afraid of, and this is all honesty, listen, we're in a pretty specific market that we're in. What I would be more afraid of is that my competition was there and they got the information and I didn't. I would really be afraid. I would also be afraid if come December 2025, what they didn't learn put them out of business. And if they would have just learned this information, it could have saved them. So listen, I'm not a monger and saying that bad things are going to happen to you. I'm not that kind of person. But the reality is you don't even know what you don't know, right? The reality is you don't know what you don't know. So why wouldn't you come? I mean, I'd be like, you got to give me a good fucking reason why, your house has to be on fire for you not to come, because you are going to have a problem in your business at some point in your life. It's going to happen. Don't you want to be prepared, or do you just want to wing it? And are you willing to risk everything in your life and in your career that you've been spending because you didn't take a day out of your life to educate yourself? I mean, listen, people go to college for 4, 5, 6 years, right? You can come to this for a fraction, a minuscule amount, right? And a fraction of the time to learn 20 years of experience of all of us in one day. Like you might as like, if somebody says it's not for me, then I would say you should quit what you're doing and go get a job and just call it a career and call it. That again, listen, I can be nice or I can be honest. I can't be both. But that's my answer.
Right. I love it. And I love you, man. You're the best. I can't wait to have you to the great state of Maine. We're going to get you a lobster roll. We're going to throw you in the ocean.
I'm gonna do a cold plunge, man. I'm down. Me and Bubba Hogan are doing it. I'm down to do it. We're gonna give it a shot. He said he'll do it with me. I've never done one. I'm willing to do it.
Well, Luke McGee from Wisconsin jumped in today, and he sent me a note. He said, I'm in for the polar plunge. We've got Wisconsin, we've got Tennessee, Ohio, Maine, Michigan, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, and New York represented already. Guys, people are starting to sign up. If you're not at this event, you're going to be missing out. I don't know if there's anything else like this in Maine. If I was going to go to something like this, I would have to drive a couple of hours and at least get south of Boston. So come on, you can wear your flannel shirt. We'll do it in Maine, and we'll have a good time. Steve's coming. Gary Chupik will be here. Steve, I want to thank you for doing this. It's always entertaining, and I always have a good laugh. But I always learn a lot when I sit and chat with you and listen to you. So thank you.
My pleasure, brother. My pleasure. I look forward to hanging out with you and all the people that are coming. We're going to have a good time. There's no doubt about it. We're going to get to know each other with all the people that come up, and the ones that are there, they're going to get some special treatment. We're going to give them some gifts. We're going to give them some things. We're going to make them feel special, because I think people should be rewarded for taking action. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, guys, take a shot on yourselves. We'll put the link. I'll get the link in the comments and the stuff and all that, and we'll make it happen. Guys, this has been Steve Rozenberg. I'm Bob Turner. This has been the Summit Podcast for the purpose of getting you to sign up for the Edge Live 25. Thank you. Guys, we're out. Appreciate you. Take care.